Many, many years ago, back when the NWR was still in its infancy, there was this one truck. He was a very unusual truck. He never spoke a word to any of us engines. His expression was always the same, just a blank stare. And according to some of the engines, they could hear him whispering in the other trucks, like he was planning something. Then one day, one of the loaned engines, I think his name was Alan, was pulling a goods train up the line. That truck was at the front of the train. When they reached Earl, the truck ordered the others to hold back, and they did. Alan strained against them for about a minute, but it was no good. Eventually, the coupling snapped, and they rolled down the hill. The truck screamed and laughed insanely. The signalman halted all trains. The men at the nearest station were alerted, and they made a plan to divert the Runaway into a siding, but it never came. They searched all up the line, every inch of rail and every siding from the hill to the station, but they found absolutely nothing. The Runaway was gone without a trace. To avoid the press finding out there being a scandal, the Fat Director ordered any and all evidence of the train ever being scheduled to be destroyed, and all those who knew about it were sworn to secrecy. But one night, many years later, an identical Runaway thundered down the line with its front truck cackling, and then it disappeared. A few more similar sightings were reported, but no one's ever found a pattern to them. It's become something of an urban legend, whispered in pubs every now and then. Some say that the trucks want to stop but can't, while others say they don't want to stop. They love the power they have, being unstoppable. But they all agree on one thing: the disappearing Runaway, wherever it is or wherever it goes, isn't stopping anytime soon.
That was the worst quote-unquote ghost story any of us have ever told, Thomas, said Gordon.
The engines were having their annual Halloween party at the sheds, and they'd begun exchanging ghost stories. Thomas had just finished telling his.
Seriously, Thomas, the story's even worse than James's from last year, said Henry.
Oh, shut up, Henry, said James. My story was amazing. Thomas was just boring. A whole lot of nothing if you ask me. Well, as I recall, no one asked you, James, snapped Thomas. I bet Percy would have liked it.
I say, where's Percy? Asked Edward.
He'd been unusually quiet as Thomas was telling his story. Ah, who cares? Asked Douglas.
Who knows? His story might be worse than Thomas's.
Duck lad, how about you? Your ghost story's always top notch, eh? Let's hear yours.
Right then, Douglas, I will, said Duck. Right lads, here it goes.
A half hour later, as Oliver was telling his story, Percy returned to the sheds, but something was very, very wrong with him. His eyes were wide open, his mouth was quivering, and he couldn't stop shaking. It looked as if he had witnessed something horrifying. Oh dear God, said Edward. It happened. After that, all the engines went to sleep, except for Edward and Thomas. There was something Edward had to remind him of. Thomas, did you forget why we don't tell that story anymore? Said Edward gravely. What are you talking about, Edward? Asked Thomas. I'm pretty sure they think I made it up. Thomas, you're missing the point, Edward continued. What do you mean, Edward? Snapped Thomas. Why can't we tell them what happened? Because if you mention the disappearing Runaway to anyone, Thomas, Edward told him, it will come back.